Good evening, good afternoon, I should say. I'm glad to be here. It's been more than a year since I've been here. I don't know, maybe more. It's been a while. And I was asked by Gil to speak about where we're heading to, the time of Mashiach, the situation in the world. And of course I will mix it with different stories and topics that you probably would be interested to hear about. And I also encourage you, if you have any questions in any topic, I always rather answering questions that people have than just force the lecture on them. In any way, as you all know, you don't need me to tell you that we are in a very, very crucial time. In the history of the world, nobody remembers such a difficult situation that the world got into. Now I know some of you may ask, okay, what's the big deal? It's only a financial crisis. It's not the end of the world. It's still not an atomic war. It's still not a World War III. So we lose money. We don't make as much. We're going to have to live a very simple life. And we get over it. Unfortunately, if you know a little bit what the Torah predicted to the time that we are in, it's not, you wouldn't be so optimistic, unfortunately. Why? Because reading where the world is heading to, either way, there's few possibilities. Either one of the possibilities is not very encouraging. I'm going to speak about some of the possibilities. But before we go into the prophecies of the time of Mashiach, what's going to happen in the world, let's first face the situation that we're in right now before we even address the Torah. Before we speak about Judaism, before we get into the Torah and the Gemara and the Zohar and the Kabbalah and all that. Just as a common sense, as a person who can predict the future based on what he sees right now, the experts are saying, if some of you watch my website and the lectures that I was giving in the beginning of 2007, when real estate was booming, the banking industry was doing very well, I already started to tell people to sell all the real estate and to get out of all these long plans that they have in business, because the balloon, which what we call United States, is going to collapse. And this is the heart of the world. This is you have a body and you have the heart. Everybody understands, without the heart, the body is nothing. So when the heart is failed, the rest of the organs follows. Everything else, collapse as well. The United States is the heart of the world, and the United States is basically going bankrupt right now. The government are putting trillions of dollars. They say that they're putting 800 billion, but the truth is they're going to end up putting $3 trillion at least. And it's going to take 100 years in America to pay it. That means our children and grandchildren have no future and have to pay so much money. And from what speaking to experts, many people contacting me, some of the things I tell you is based on people who are already involved, and they know some secrets that you don't hear on the news. United States is very close to the situation that they cannot pay only the interest of the money they owe China alone. It's besides Japan and the Arabs. They can't even pay the interest. What happened when a person cannot pay the interest? This is what happened to Madoff, even though it's $50 billion, that's what's happening right now to America. What did he do? 20 years ago, he started to take money from people and say, invest in my firm, invest. I'm going to give you 10, 12% interest a year. You're going to make a lot of money. The bank don't give you even 2, 3%, or CDs, 5%. By me, you're going to make 10, 12% return on your money. And, one customer brings another, and over the years, you got hundreds or maybe even thousands of investors, banks, institutions, yeshivos, colleges. Just Yeshiva University alone lost more than $100 million there. Ramah School of Manhattan, 6 million. And this is peanuts compared to the major investors that lost more than $1 billion each there. So what he was doing, he was taking money from Reuven, and now he has to give Reuven money. So where is he going to get the money? He's not such a great investor like everybody thought. So he's taking money from Shimon now. Shimon gave him $1 million. He takes some of the money, gives it to Reuven. So Reuven's getting his interest. Now he needs to cover Shimon, so he gets Levi into the picture. So he takes money from Levi and gave Reuven and Shimon from both's money. And that's a pyramid. You know, it's what they call it, Ponzi scam, whatever they call it in English. So over the years, everybody see they're making double than or triple than the banks. It looks like a solid investment. Nobody checked their statements. Hundreds or thousands of people, not one saw that he did not make their investments. The statements were all false. Everything was false. For 20 years, he was fooling everyone. And what happened? Just when the economy is shaking and people want some of their principal back, it's enough that 10-20% of the people in his system wants all their money back, 500 million, a billion, 30 million. It adds up. All of a sudden, everyone wants their money back. There's no money in the system because it's all a balloon. And what happened? He doesn't have now enough to pay the interest. He doesn't have to pay the interest. Everybody gets a phone call or they hear on the news that he's bankrupt. And that's exactly what's happening now to America. They took money from China, they took money from Saudi Arabia, from Japan, from the Europeans, constantly borrowing non-stop, paying them interest on their bonds and everything, and now they cannot pay it. So what's going to happen now? Obviously the Chinese that invested hundreds of trillions of dollars here, they're not going to sit and clap to the United States for taking away all their investments. What's going to be? They have an atomic war, atomic bombs. Add to it the threat that we have from Iran. Add to it Pakistan, that is a very shaky country. So many threats we have on our future as Americans. Before we're talking about Jews, just as American society. Now, put the fact that we are all Jews here, and the history showed us that we are the most hated nation in history. Everybody almost always hated us, whether the economy was good, whether it was bad. When it gets bad, the hate is, accumulating. I mean, you see it everywhere. They're burning synagogues. I heard they burn a synagogue in Venezuela now, and in Miami, and in Chicago. And soon it's going to be a threat to walk in the street. If your name's going to be Eisenberg or Rosenberg or Cohen or any of those names that everybody will recognize you, Jew, remember my words. I hope I'm wrong. I'm praying to Hashem every day that I'm wrong. But it's going to be a situation in few months, not few years, in few months, that Jews in this country will hesitate to say their names. And people with yarmulke will have to wear baseball caps. It's already happening in France and in England. This is a modern countries, not different than the United States. In Germany, in England, in France, it's a big threat to walk with a yarmulke on the street or saying that your name is a Jewish name. They burn all kinds of places there, belongs to Jews, they're threats. I just spoke Saturday night to a person that is involved with the Secret Service, the FBI. They know things that you don't hear on the news. And he told me, pay attention very carefully. The terrorists are after Lakewood. Lakewood is a Jewish town. That's almost everyone is a Jew there, religious Jews. Something's supposed to happen there. They prepare something big over there. That's terrorism. Terrorism can kill thousands of people, as we saw in September 11. It cannot make a country go down. The economy makes everybody lose their mind. Why? Because the people cannot buy. The stores are going down. Most of the stores will close this year. More than 40% of the businesses will be bankrupt just this year alone, 2009. When people don't have money, what happened? They take guns and they go to hunt. What they hunt? They hunt bread for their children. This goyim that make $30,000, $40,000 a year, they can pay the heat bill, the electric bill, the mortgages. They cannot pay their bills. They want to throw them out of their house. What's going to happen? They're going to start rob people. Hold-ups, robberies. They have nothing to lose. They go to jail. Very good for them. It's like hotel. Televisions, great room, free doctor, free meals. Nothing to lose. They're starving where they live right now. And that's the situation in this country. Now, Israel, it's going to be even worse than here. Why? Because Israel depends on here. Most of the economy in Israel is eating from the big companies in the United States. Intel, Dell, all these major companies, they have big offices in Israel. Thousands of employees already been fired in Israel. And that's what happened. For those who are in real estate, and you're probably saying, oh, now it's a great time to buy real estate. Why? $1 million house in Long Island went down to $500,000 now. And it's great. I can buy few and wait 5 years. When real estate will come back, it's always a repeat. It goes down, and then it goes up, and then it goes down. It's always like this. I suggest don't jump too fast. The $500,000 will become 100,000 in a year. And that's my prediction for the future. You don't have to believe me, but I was right in 2007 when everyone was dreaming and the illusion was great and sweet. You can listen to my website, 2007, and you see what I'm talking about. Then you understand why. Everything is an illusion. People like to live in a lie. The nature of a person is, he likes to live in a lie. All these people who got their statement from Madoff, it would take them 5 minutes to go into the internet and check if he bought Google for them or not. It was 5 minutes, but they didn't want to check. I've been getting my interest from him for 3 years. Things working well, no problem. People in businesses, they make money, they sell merchandise, but really they lose money out of their pocket every month. Sometimes it's gone for 5 years. They lose money every month. So how come they still are in business? Because they borrow from the bank. Their debt to their suppliers is constantly growing. It started with $1,000 a month. A year later, it's $15,000 a month. A year later, it's $40,000 a month. After 5 years, they owe $1 million. Their whole business doesn't worth $200,000. That's what happened to all these businesses. Why? People live in a lie. When I used to be in business, I used to come to meet owners of stores. Some of them have more than 100 employees, major business. When I started to check their financial statement and their bank statement and their list of their expenses and their profits that they're taking, I just couldn't believe. So how can it be? Based on what you're giving me, unless if you're lying to me, I'm not from the IRS. You have no reason to lie for me. I'm only representing a bank. I come to make a deal with you. If you worry that maybe I'm an undercover IRS agent, don't worry, you know. So just tell me the truth. He said, no, that's the truth. How can it be? You lose money every month. 20, 30% you lose from your pocket. And guess what happened? A year later, I used to go from that place for sale, for rent. Why? 10 years illusion. That's it. We, as Jews, have the same problem. What do I mean? A person can live 70, 80 years in this world and not once address the main question of life. What am I doing here? My Creator put me here. What is my job here? Why? He made me with a special image. I have special skills. I'm different than all my friends. Everyone is unique. Because everyone is unique about himself. You know, he has special skills that the other doesn't have. What is my job in a creation? Was I put here just to eat, to sleep, to drive around, to go to the doctors, to go swimming, to play basketball? What is my purpose? 70, 80 years, 6.4 billion living here. Not even 1% of the people in this world are asking the main question in life. What am I doing here? And that's the reason why society looks so corrupted. If people would address the main issue, what are we doing here? Who puts us here? What's the purpose of the creation? Why did he put us here? Where are we heading to? What's going to be afterlife? If there is any afterlife, so many important questions that every normal person should ask 50 times a day. Not once in a lifetime, 50 times a day. What's the difference between us and 500 years ago? The generations 400, 500 years ago, if you read in the ancient book, the Gentiles, the non-Jews, many of them were great philosophers. Even though they had some limited knowledge in Judaism, because it's a famous religion all over the world, most of the things they wrote in their books came from their common sense, from investigating life, from looking at nature, checking the animals, seeing the purpose of each species here. And they came to conclusion almost identical what the Torah told us 3,320 years ago. And I give you an example. I'm sure you all heard about Aristo. He lived about 2,400 years ago. He was Greek. Aristo was a famous philosopher. What was he doing all day of his life? Learning. Science book, natural books, all kinds of biology, all kinds of things. He was learning all his life. Learning. And also, he was working on his character, on his personality. For instance, he was fighting his desires he had a temper. So he wrote in his book that his mission is to overcome these desires that he have, to be angry. So he worked on himself, on his character. He was able to correct his personality, I guess based on what he testified there, 100%. And he had a wife that was a very evil person. And she used to abuse him. She used to scream and give him a hard time. They bring a story about him that one time he was learning and she was washing the floor. And she came to him and started to scream, "What are you doing here? You worthless creature. Go, get out of the house, do something with yourself. You're sitting with your books all day." So he was screaming, and he was ignoring her. He didn't answer her back. So the next thing she did, she took the water, the bucket full of water, and spilled on his head. So he told her, "I'm not surprised. Usually after the thunders come the rain." Somebody else will kill her. "Oh, you, my wife, you're abusing me like this? Get out of the house." He said, "No problem, darling. Usually comes the thunder, you scream, that's the thunders. Right after that comes the rain." Without the Torah, he was able to reach this. Remember, 2,400 years ago, this is even before the time of Chazal, our sages. Most of the things we know in Judaism today come from the rabbis. Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, all these great names that you hear in the Talmud about them, they all lived 2,200 years ago, 2,100 years ago, 2,000 years ago. That's the time of all these great names in Judaism. He was a few hundred years before them even. Galileo and many others. They used to sit all day and search for the purpose of life. How they can help humanity. What is my job in this world? How do I improve the world? Just that you know, the Torah, one of the foundations of Judaism, that a person has two purposes in his life. His personal purpose, his unique purpose. That's his personal test that God put him through. And the general one, when he is a part of a unit. What is that unit? The nation of Israel and the entire world. Each one of us has responsibilities and obligation to the entire world, to society. For instance, if you're a doctor, you don't have 100% free choice to do whatever you want. If you're on a plane and somebody is sick, and for instance, they need you, you're the only doctor in a plane, you cannot say, "Let me sleep now, I didn't sleep all night." You have to take care of that patient. Whether you like him, whether you hate him, whether you're racist, you don't like the color of his skin, it doesn't matter. Solid rule in medicine, you must take care of every person, even your enemy. You see your enemy laying on the street, if they prove that you went by and you didn't give him the treatment that he needed, your career is over. But this is common sense even without the rule of this country or the law of medicine. This is something from the Torah already. The Torah told us the obligation of each person to society. Someone that is genius, he has great memory, great skills, he learns, he knows a lot of Torah. He cannot say, "I'm going to sit in my room, lock myself in for 50 years, enjoy the sweetness of the Torah, learn, and I become a big chacham," without sharing his knowledge with others. Somebody like this, everybody will have to agree, is egoistic. What is your help to society? The situation that we are right now has a reason. Why God put us in such a situation? Since the starvation in the generation of Pharaoh and Moshe, as we read in the Torah, 7 good years, and right after that came the 7 bad years when the whole world was starving. All the people in the world lost all their money. Within 7 years, they had to go to Egypt and buy from the storages of Joseph, because he predicted what's going to happen, so they stuffed their storages for 7 years with wheat and rice and everything you can think of, People were not so sophisticated like today. Nobody knew what sushi is, Italian, pizza, all this expensive food. People used to eat bread and they survived. So for 7 years, all the people had to sell all their properties, all their fields, their real estates, their donkeys, their horses, that's what their cars at that time. And they stayed broke completely, and Pharaoh became the richest person in the world. Actually, he owned literally the entire world. Nowhere in the history you find that one person took possession of everything in the world. Every people from Israel, from the entire Middle East, the world wasn't like today, you know. But still, everybody who wanted food had to mortgage their houses, their field, to get food, just to feed their children for those 7 years. Today, we don't have Joseph and Pharaoh. Nobody predicted that crisis. So what's going to happen now? If the country, like in Iceland, they went bankrupt already over there. That's it. The government announced, we're bankrupt. No more roads, no more help. We cannot give any service to people. The government is bankrupt. We don't have anything. In California, they already announced they're very close to bankruptcy. What does it mean if the government will have to give them money? If not, a state like California will be bankrupt. It's affecting the entire country. They lay off so many people, or every other person in the street that I'm speaking to, or people who emails me and call me, I'm unemployed, non-stop, I'm unemployed, almost everyone. Everyone is unemployed. An unemployed person with such expensive lifestyle that we have today, how long he can survive? Okay, so you say, you know what, all right, we eat bread. Bread is $1 a day, we'll survive with bread. We won't starve, we won't die. Wrong. Because the Torah says the life, in this planet, is not only what you eat and the body is constantly moving around. No. Life is what the soul is earning, not what the body. The body is here. Hashem makes sure the body will stay here as long as He wants it here. The question is, when you finish your life, how much your soul earned in this life, in this reincarnation that you had, in this body, your soul was put in your body with your specific test. How much you earned, how much donations you gave in your lifetime, how many good deeds you did, how much peace you made between Jews, how much you help others, how much you comfort miserable people, all kinds of people, how honest you were. Did you steal or you didn't? Did you help others? You generous or you were stingy? Did you correct your character, your personality, or you stayed the same rotten person as you came to the world? All these things will be judged once the soul separates from the body and goes 1 year trial for every person after he died. That's why we say Kaddish on deceased people for 1 year. 1 year we say Kaddish after their death because that's their trial. Mishpat Reshaim, Yud Bet Chodesh, 12 months. Reshaim, Rasha in Hebrew, makes many people make mistake about it. The word Rasha doesn't mean evil, like it sounds in the modern Hebrew. Rasha means a person who did not obey the rules of God. For instance, a man that shaved with a razor. Torah says not allowed to shave your beard with razor. You can cut it with scissors. Today we have electric shaving machines. Some are kosher, some are not, but there are different ways to do it. But there's one way for sure it's not allowed, to take a sharp razor and cut the roots of the hair. Why? There's many reasons. For the reasons of God, you can learn years to know why God made this rule and not the other one, why He made it in that specific way. That's already pure Torah. You want to know it? Come to the yeshiva and learn. But whether you know it or not, you have to agree. If God told me that rule, that applies to me. If I listen to Him, I'm righteous. If I'm not listening to Him, I violate His rules. How does it call in Hebrew? Rasha, not Ra. Ra means an evil person, a cruel person, a person that is arrogant. All these skills together, person like this called wicked. Rasha, but not Ra. He can have a very good heart. He has mercy for people. He could be even generous, but he violates the rules of the Sabbath. He lights fire on the Sabbath. He smokes cigarettes. He watches television. He speaks on the phone. All this is electric. And all the electric is fire. The Torah says you should not create any fire anywhere you're going to be. on the Sabbath. Why? Again, that's a separate issue why. But this is the rule. You're not keeping it, you're violating the rules of Hashem. So when a person comes to heaven, after 70, 80 years he was here, his trial begins. Some of the things he will say, I never knew. Excuse me, God, what do you think? I had a specific reason to go against you, to rebel against you? What do you suspect that I did on purpose? You know I didn't know. My parents never sent me to yeshiva. I went to public school. I grew up in Russia, in a village with all the non-Jews. I never knew anything on my own. Why are you asking me all these questions? I didn't grow up in Bnei Brak or Jerusalem. It's not fair, all these questions. What's going to be the answer? The Torah was free of charge everywhere. If you wanted to know, all you had to do is pick up a book, here, right in front of me. English, Hebrew. 1 year of your life, you know it by heart. If you're serious. You have the book that I gave you in your home or across the street in a synagogue. 40, 50 years of your life, it was a step away from your hand. All you had to do is reach and open and begin to learn. Today it's so easy. You don't even need the rabbis to teach you. They made such easy books with so much explanations that even the biggest, excuse my language, the biggest moron can understand it. Why? They made it so easy to understand. In the old days, people need to be very clever. They have to understand on their own. The language was very difficult. Today, they know the level of the generations in Hebrew, in English. It doesn't matter. People are not in a very high level. So they made the learning so easy for everyone, in simple language, simple words, and it just become more and more simple. And the people are not interested to learn. The Torah say every day an echo comes from Mount Sinai, a spiritual echo. What is the echo? Oy labriot me'elbona shel Torah. What a shame for the Jews for embarrassing my Torah. Why embarrassing my Torah? I gave the Torah, the biggest event in history, in front of millions of people. Right away the Gentiles went and translated the Torah to 70 languages. And what did my children do? Ignore it all their life. What they were busy doing? Living like a goy. Eating, the goyim also eat. Working, they also work. Doing sports, they also do sports. Getting married, they also get married. Having children, they also have children. What did you do for Judaism, for the truth of my book? Nothing. Having mercy on people who die in a war, the goyim also have. Even animals have mercy. One chimpanzee died next to his friend cries. Dogs are crying when another dog died. They have feelings. That doesn't make you anything special. What did you do for the truth, for my book? I'm sorry, Hashem, nothing. You kept my Sabbath? No. You put tefillin every day, 2-3 minutes, and say Shema Israel? No. Did you pray every day? No. Did you think about me? No. Were you grateful to me for everything I gave you 78 years of your life? No, you took everything for granted. How many times in your life you really say thank you from the bottom of your heart to me for giving you a house, giving you a car, giving you clothes to wear, a watch, food, money to send your children to get education, etc., etc.? Nothing. And just guess what's going to be the embarrassment of every person when his trial will begin. Some people who died and came back to life, that's called clinical death. I have a whole lecture about it, life after death. Some of them are non-Jews. One goy, non-Jew, said something that made me goosebumps all over my body. What did he say? 3 words, 3 sentences. I felt major disappointment. I felt I did not achieve anything in my life. I wish I could go back and correct everything from the beginning to the end. And I basically accomplished nothing. A non-Jew. Now remember, a non-Jew has a very easy test compared to Jews. All they have to keep is 7 major laws. They have minor laws. 7 major laws with 5 or 6 of them, every normal human being keeps anyway. You should not kill. People without religion also understand you should not kill, but that's one of the laws. You should not steal. Okay, that's already harder. not to steal. Even though most people in the world are not robbing banks or breaking into cars or breaking into people's home, but almost every person in the world is a thief. When I say a thief, I don't mean, again, he's going into people's wallet and steal it. No. But he's a thief. For instance, he's working for a boss. He takes stamps for his personal letters. That's stealing. You may say it's only 40 cents. It doesn't matter. Stealing, it's stealing. You go into a restaurant that you didn't buy anything and you took napkins from there. Just imagine if every person who walks in the street needs napkins, go into the restaurant and take a bunch of napkins. In 1 month, they'll be out of business. The napkins were there for you. If you bought pizza, then you're allowed to take napkins or straw or plastic cup. If every person takes 30 cents from that restaurant, but just because he needs napkins or a cup, that's stealing. Many other examples. For instance, somebody lent you his car. You needed a car, and you told him, I'm going from here to Manhattan, I have a meeting, and I'm coming right back here to East Meadow. And in between, you went to visit your grandma in Brooklyn somewhere. That's stealing. Stealing. You may say, okay, I put an extra $10 gas. I cover the gas. There's many other things. The tires, the carburetors, the engine. There's so many things. Yes, it could be pennies, but that's stealing. Not to steal, it's very, very difficult not to do. Very, very difficult. So the Goyim, they're not allowed to steal. They're not allowed to worship idols. They have to believe in one God and love Him. Most Arabs do it. They believe in one God. They don't believe He has a son like the Christians. They have a major problem, the Christians, or the Hindus, or the Buddhists. But the Arabs don't have a problem. They identify one God and pray to one God. So they keep that. So an Arab that is not a murderer, he loves God, he recognizes there's one God. He doesn't steal. Let's say he's a farmer somewhere in, I don't know, Saudi Arabia over there, a farmer. He raises some wheat and sell it, and that's his life. He lives a very simple life. And he, like I said, he doesn't steal, he doesn't kill, he doesn't worship idols, he believes in one God. He doesn't eat any raw animals. He obeys the system, the court system and the police. Right? That's how many? 6. And Immorality. That's not one of the 7. Huh? Oh, Gilui Arayot. Thank you very much. They're not allowed to have relation with their 7 relatives also. You know, include homosexuality is also forbidden for them. So if they don't do those 7, which, look at this, most Arabs are not. Even though terrorism is almost everywhere, remember, from 1.5 billion Muslims, how many really killing? 1%, not even. So, in general, most of them, those ignorant Muslims that live somewhere, that believe in one God, do not steal, do not do all those 7 things, they have a part of the world to come. They are called righteous Gentiles. Righteous Gentiles. And Jews who do not keep the laws of God, they are wicked Jews. Which one is worse? It's a big question. According to most opinions, the Gentile that keeps the laws of God is in a higher level than a Jew who doesn't. Now, we don't like to hear it because it's speaking about us. Some of us steal, some of us don't keep the Sabbath, some of us lie, some of us are not faithful in a marriage. All this is sins from the Torah. What brought us to the situation? Ignorance. Lack of attention to the Torah. Not learning enough, not knowing how serious is our sins. Why? I don't feel a different, Rabbi. Look at me, I'm 80 years old. All my life I've been doing this, but I still made millions. I still got married. My children are all lawyers and doctors. I have another vacation house. I'm healthy. I play golf. Where God exactly punished me? That's ignorance. Speaking like this is a major ignorance. Why? This person who I just described is actually the most miserable person in the entire creation. A homeless in the street is in a better position than him. Why? Because the Torah says that people who suffer in this life, it takes away a lot from their punishment in the afterlife. So that means a person that his life was ideal, success, health, marriage, children, he basically succeeded in all his missions in life, and he didn't keep the laws of God, this person is subject to a serious punishment after his death. whether he's a Jew or Goy, depending which violations he made. So the person who violates the rules and at least suffer in this life, for instance, he lost a child, he had a terrible divorce, his wife took away all his money, he got fired even though he was innocent, all kinds of problems that people have in life, surgeries, heart problems, all kinds of problems, that at least take away some of the punishments later on. So this person that he feels, I was very successful, according to the Torah, is in a worse position, unless if he made repentance before he dies. Now, according to the Torah, every one of us has a unique test. If you're very rich, what's your main purpose in life? To help the Jewish nations. How? Supports yeshivas, supports synagogues, supports Kiruv, bringing Jews back to Hashem, giving them DVDs, showing them, recommend all kinds of websites, starting website to spread Torah. All these things cost money. The reason that you got $1 billion, not to keep it in the banks, in a stock market, 99% of it. Yes, you can make more money. There's no problem to make money. But you have obligations, what to do with this money. Obviously, if you would pay a little bit attention to your situation in life, common sense leaves no doubt. The reason the Creator gave me $1 billion is not for me. For sure it's not for me. Why? I can be a king with $10 million, 20, 50. I don't need $1 billion. Why he gave me $1 billion? Because I have responsibility for my brothers, for my sister. What did I do? Not pass the money away to the miserable people. Big responsibility. Think about it. You know, in the Holocaust, not that many people know that when the Nazis were losing the war, Eichmann called one of the Zionists, and he told him, I'm willing to release 100,000 Jews, a million Jews, that left in Europe, that they didn't die yet. But I want 10,000 trucks full of blankets and medicine. I will give you the list of the things we need here. The Zionist movement, they have a lot of money. The Bond, all these big organizations that you hear about. Speak to Ben Gurion, to all the people in Israel. If they will give us, I'm going to make a deal with you. I'm going to make a deal with you. Every 1,000 trucks that you tell me that you have, first I'm going to release 100,000 Jews to any country you tell me, and then you give me the 1,000 trucks. Then I'm going to release another 100,000, you give me the extra 1,000. There's one Zionist, non-religious, communist. His name is Yoel Brand. He wrote a book. Read his book, you get the shock of your life. They did everything they could not to help those million Jews because they didn't want them in Israel. They waited until the Nazis will kill them, and only after that they start with all their politics. They finish them all. He wrote in his book, in his funeral, not one Zionist came. Nobody came because he betrayed them. He told the secret. Today it's already in many websites, that story. It's already a public story. But they could have saved 1 million Jews. Just think about it. If we would have then another 1 million Jews, probably by now we had another 7 million Jews. We are only 13.2 million Jews in the world. Take 1 million Jews from 60 years ago, third generation, it's another 500,000 families. Million, split it by 2, it's 500,000 families. Third generation could be 7 million people. They didn't help them. They still have their millions today, many of them. All these organizations that you hear about them, all these American Zionist organizations, they are already more than 100 years in business. They are the one who could have saved them, but they didn't want another 1 million Jews to come to Israel. Why? Who wants another 1 million people to feed, to put into work? It's a lot of headache. So they didn't give them. The Nazis were willing to do it, and they didn't do it. So here is a situation. They were collecting donations from the rich people hundreds of years already, since they're in business, from 1800, 1850, and 1880. They were collecting money from all the rich Jews. When they finally had an opportunity to save souls, to save life, they didn't do it. They have big responsibilities. Cannot escape from that, because you can fool the public, but you cannot fool God. Every one of them will get for each one of the Jews who died. And that's big responsibility. On the other hand, If they did save them, if they saved them, they will have a major, unlimited reward for that. Why? If one out of these million become a great rabbi and teach Torah to all the people, every mitzvah he would do goes to them. Everything those million Jews, every mitzvah they would do, they gave them life. But they missed their opportunity. We are the same. We don't have access to save a million Jews. We're small. But we have access to save 5 Jews, 15, 50, depends how much money we have. But we don't do it because we want another fair coat. Another Mercedes. 2 in the driveway is not enough. So what God said, okay, I had enough. What's going to be now? I'm taking away all your money. In 2 months, all the billionaires in Israel went bankrupt. Something like this never happened. All the major names that you hear in Israel, almost all of them went bankrupt. Why is it? Why? Is it possible? They had millions of dollars. Why didn't they help all the widows? All the miserable people? They didn't help them. Hashem said, you know what? I gave you all these billions of dollars. You're not helping. You're helping a little bit. No problem. Manage without it. All of a sudden, real estate crisis, the banks take away their properties, they have to sell everything for 50% discount, and that's the situation that we're in. The problem is the yeshivot today in the world don't have donations anymore, don't have money. To give Jewish education to our children, it will become almost an impossible mission. Where are we heading to? Very difficult. That's where we believe the time of Mashiach is right here in this generation. Some of us will live to see it. According to the prophecies, before Mashiach comes, there will be a big war in the world. Very big. It's called Gog uMagog. If you open the prophet Zechariah 14, they have a description of an atomic war. This was written about 2,500 years ago, when there was no rifles, bullets, nothing. The Vilna Gaon, 250 years ago, in Vilna, he wrote that the last war will take 9 seconds. People 250 years ago, when they read in a book that the last war will take 9 seconds, they have only one thing in their mind. Somebody who wrote it is crazy. How can a war take 9 seconds? Maybe he's dreaming, I don't know. Dream takes 9 seconds. So maybe in a dream the world can be over in 9 seconds. But in reality, today we understand it's possible. What does it mean 9 seconds? 20, 30 people will press the button, and that's it. It doesn't have to be literally that the entire world will be destroyed. No. It's enough, God forbid, that 20 bombs fall in New York, London, somewhere in Europe, Israel, I don't know, other countries. Let's make a revolution in the world. Markets are crashing, people killing one another. It's a revolution, that's it. You don't know what's going to be. And that's already the time that the Torah describes. 2/3 of the people in the world will not survive from this war. What are we talking? 4 billion people. Not a joke here. And then from the third that survive, God will screen who deserve to see a final salvation. Not each one of the third deserve to see the Messiah and all the miracles that will happen, like it happened after the Exodus of Egypt. 40 years in the desert, and the year that Hashem hit the Egyptians with 10 plagues, that time of wonders and miracles are going to repeat even bigger in a time of Mashiach. But before it's going to happen, it's going to be a disaster. According to Kabbalah, to the Zohar, it's going to be 15 days of darkness in the world. 15 days of darkness. Nobody will see the sun. I don't know what it means. I have no idea what does it mean. I'm not an expert in atomic war, but somebody told me that after they dumped the bombs in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, it was all gray for a long time. Couldn't see anything. Whatever that means. Maybe that's what it means. I don't know. Maybe it's literally. Maybe Hashem will make the sun pause. It happens already in history if you read 4 times that Earth and the sun and the whole solar system all pause. Which means if you are now at 2 o'clock, that's it. You are at 2 o'clock constantly for who knows, day, 2, 5. According to the Zohar, it's 15 days. So that means it's going to be 15 days of darkness. But according to there, it's going to be 15 days of darkness all over the world. Not that some places is going to be light, some places is going to be dark. How can it be? I don't know. But that's what it says. And in those 15 days, Hashem will clean the world from all the wicked people. Those who were ungrateful to Him, those who didn't listen to Him, those who didn't care about the Torah, etc., etc. When did it happen already in history? In the Exodus of Egypt. How many Jews today know that the Exodus of Egypt, with all the great things that happened, we learn in Passover, in Leila Seder, we read the story in the Haggadah, the Jews went to freedom, we all celebrate, it's a very happy holiday, Passover. But not that many Jews know that actually the tragedies of Passover is much greater than the salvation that we had. Why? 80% of the Jews in Egypt died in the darkness with the Egyptians. Millions. Read in the Torah. 1 out of 5 only came out of Egypt. 4 who did not trust God to leave their home and go into the desert with Moses, they stayed in Egypt with the Egyptians and died. Not that many people knows it. But you read Rashi right there in the Chumash, the Gemara, Chazal say 1 out of 5 came out. Could be a greater tragedy than this? The Holocaust is peanuts compared to this. Why? Approximately 15 million Jews came out. 600,000 men between the age of 20 to 60 came out. Approximately the same amount of women. So it's 1.2 million from age 20 to 60. What about children? You have 600,000 families. Each family has at least 10 children. Remember, there's no birth control, things that we have in this generation. 3,300 years ago, nobody knew about it. So every family had minimum 10 children, sometimes 17, sometimes 30. Depend. They used to get married age 12 already. Our grandmothers used to get married age 12, 13. I don't know if you know, but in some Arab countries, women already age 14 had children. They were much more mature than the ladies today. There was a different world. 3,300 years ago, people had many children. It's right there, another 7 million children. And that's only from 0 to 60. From 60 to 120, more or less the same number. Approximately 14, 15 million people, that was 20%. 20%. The 80%, it's 60 million. According to some opinions, less Jews came out. Let's say, whatever. According to the lowest opinion, 3.5 million. That was the 20%. So how much was the 80%? 14 million. Either way, it's a major tragedy. Major tragedy. So the Zohar says that before the Mashiach comes, there will be actually a repeat like this in the world. Not every Jew, just because his mother was Jewish and her name was Rachel or Leah, automatically will see the salvation of the Messiah. No. We cannot assume or dream or have illusion that everything will be fine like some people have. We have to stick to what the Torah says. What the prophets told us. The prophets told us you need to have a special merit to be saved in the time of this of the salvation. In that 40 years that Mashiach will come, that's going to be the resurrection of the death of all the righteous people from all the previous generations. Which means you're going to see King David and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and the tribes and all these famous names and all these holy rabbis that we read about in the books, Rambam, Maimonides, all these famous names are going to come back to life. In which body? Many of us here are already in many, many bodies. Each one of us is not the first time here. We were here in different bodies. Man, female, different bodies. We don't remember our previous life. Some people in the world remember 100% their previous life. They were tested. I have a whole lecture about it. All over the world. Every rule has an exception to the rule. Every rule. What does it mean? Every rule God made in a creation, there's always an exception to that rule. I don't have the time to explain why, but this is the way it's working. So that means if this is the rule, there's always some people that remember the previous life. Why we don't? Why God didn't make each one of us remember our last station? Remember our last body. For instance, I would remember who I was, 8 years ago, where I lived in Baghdad or something like that. And I remember who I used to be, what I used to do wrong, and I'll correct it. At least I know what to address. What's my weaknesses? Why I don't remember my previous life? I give you just one example. For instance, a person was a serial killer. He was a serial killer. He used to kill people. Now he came back to life. For whatever reason, he had another opportunity. Instead of going to hell, he comes back in a new body for another test. Only God knows his reasons why one person comes back and the other doesn't get a chance to come back in another body. But a person would remember his previous life. He will give up before his life started already. He knows how much he has to suffer in this life to repent his previous crimes. When he sees it, he will kill himself right away. Or I give you another example. A person that used to humiliate his wives in his previous life. He has one wife, abused her, got divorced, got remarried, beat up his next wife. Third one, cheating on her, abusing her, verbally, physically, whatever you want. 2, 3, 4, 5 times he was married. Besides all the other problems he gave ladies, so God told him in his stride, okay, I am reincarnating you in a new body of this person. This is how you're going to look. This is where you're going to be in that place. What's going to be your punishment? You will never get married. You go out on dates. There are girls that may like you, and in the end, you'll never get married. All your life until you die single. If a person like this would remember his previous life and his trial, as soon as he's born, he will kill himself. Why? What keeps the people going? Hopes. Things will get better eventually. I'm not going to suffer forever. Yes, now it's a bad time. Maybe in 2, 3 years from now, I'm going to find my soulmate. If he knew when he's 20 that he will never find her, some people would not want to be here. It would interfere with our free choice. That's the bottom line. Many, many other examples I can give you. So why once in a while you see a Goy or a Jew that remember his previous life to teach those that have doubts that there are different lives, that it's possible. If you go into my website, divineinformation.com, or you can also see it in TorahAnyTime.com, in puretorah.com, in Emet Ve'emunah. It's a lot of good websites now that shows all these lectures. You can see over there clearly people with television articles that they show about them, Arabs, Druze, that remember their previous life. He stands next to his grave from his previous life and cry. A little kid. And he describes his entire previous life. And he's going into his ex-wife from different life. He's a kid. And sharing memories with her. Showing the family album, recognize all his ex-uncles and cousins. Unbelievable. And it's already been proven scientifically that there is reincarnation by hypnotizing people. They speak different languages that they don't know today. For instance, none of you know Arabic, I assume. But imagine if I hypnotize you and in the middle you begin to speak Arabic. And then when you come back to conscious, you say, hey, what am I saying? I don't understand myself. What am I saying? And then they tell you. You said that you are in Syria, you sell carpets, you have a store in Damascus, whatever. You say your previous life story. What year is this? They ask the soul. This is all in life after death. You have it in a website. It's a long lecture, but every second is fascinating. Go back to our subject. So, we are heading into this time. The Gemara say one of the signs that Mashiach is on the way, that every Jew will become broke. They will not have enough money for anything. He wants to do this, he wants to put gas in a car, he wants to pay tuition, I don't know. He doesn't have money for anything. En beit David ba ad shetichle pruta min hakis. Everyone will have their last penny in their pocket. And then the Jews scream, what else do you want from us? And the lights will show up. That's one of the conditions. One other condition is every person will have chutzpah, arrogance, no patience, no tolerance. egoistic, don't care about the other, cheating on lines, driving like crazy, all these things that we see around. Those things were not here 50 years ago. People were much more polite. I always give this example. When I was a kid in Israel, when an old person got on a bus, half of the bus were getting up to give him the chair. Try it today in Israel. If one person will give you his chair, it's a miracle. Not only they don't give the chairs anymore, the young generation, they make the old people rise for them. Hey, old grandpa, get up. I'm tired. Get up. Let me sit. Hard to believe. Comes with a cigarette, with a smoke in his face. Go like this. You come, you tell a kid, you're very young, don't stand in the front of the entrance to the synagogue and smoke cigarettes. You're only 13 years old. You want to do it? Go hide somewhere. Mind your own business. You didn't have this 50 years ago. People wanted to smoke when they were young. They felt that it's not proper. When they wanted to do it, they went to the orchard to hide. It's not a crime, to smoke a cigarette, it's not a crime. You're ruining your health. But everybody knows it's not a proper thing to do. Today? What are you talking about? Today, people call their parents with their first name. I went to Israel the last time, everywhere I go. Moshe, Yitzchak, calls his father with his first name. Even here, I saw somebody, religious. Non-religious, they don't know what's respecting parents and all this. They don't know, they never learned the laws. But religious person I see is working in a place and his son's calling him with his first name. So I told the father, how do you let your son call you in your first name? It's your son, what is this? He said, you're telling me? I'm begging you, go tell him. He does whatever he wants, he's my boss. So the Gemara say one of the signs before Mashiach come will be this. One other sign is, Pnei Ador ki Pnei HaKelev. People will behave like dogs. No embarrassment from anything, standing on television naked, doing all kinds of embarrassing things for $1,000, put their names all over the newspaper, bragging about living like animals, not only not hiding it, bragging about it in all kinds of shows in front of all over the world. 50, 60 years ago, you would give $1 million a day for a woman to be naked on a television, she wouldn't agree. Today they fight for free. Who's going to get into the show? That's the signs that the Gemara gave. Now remember, when the Gemara was written, the worst Goya, the worst non-Jew, the biggest prostitute, described in the Torah as a lady who has raised her skirt to her knee. Or a lady that will put bells in her shoes. Now, when she walks, it makes some noise to attract attention. Not that she doesn't get dressed. She's fully covered. But she wants people to look at her, to pay attention. Maybe she finds a nice husband. So she put bells. Or a lady that puts a flower on her hair. That it attracts attention. And a tall girl that walks in between two short girls. Why is she doing it? To attract attention that she's tall and nice. These are the prostitutes of 2,000 years ago. Remember? What are we going to say today? So now, when the Gemara was written, even in the wildest dream, nobody could predict such situation like we have today in the world. So how do you know it's a divine information? Because nobody could predict naturally that something like this is possible, that ladies will behave like today. But it's in a Gemara. That's one of the signs before Mashiach come. One other sign is inflation. Prices are going up like crazy everywhere, for no reason. Even now, when the economy is the worst in a history, and we are in the worst crisis in a history, when you may think that everybody would lower the prices to zero, you still hear that prices are going up. Prices of food and things are going up. Here, I just spoke to somebody who sells watches, wholesaler. He told me, believe it or not, prices of the watches are going up every month. I asked him, you have any customers? He said, nothing. The store's buying any watches from you? Nothing. I even offer them to put a 30 days, no payments, credit, 30 days if they have good credit. I brought them the cheapest watches in the market. They don't even want to put it on display. They know nobody will buy it. But the prices are still going up. Why? It costs them more money to manufacture it. Platinum, gold, this, everything goes up. Prices going up. Nobody buys. When nobody buys, prices should go down 50% right away to attract customers. Keeps going up. Higher and higher. To build still costs you more. Every time you come to the store, you bought a box, $40. A week later, $47. A week later, $72. Prices are going up like crazy. Bag of rice used to be $9 in Costco. You come a week later, $22. From 9 to 22 in 1 week. You may think, okay, now the prices came down. No, it stays 21, 22 for months already. Doesn't go down. People don't have money to buy food. Everything goes up. And that's one of the, and they give an example from grapes. Will be plenty of grapes. They dump grapes into the ocean because they have too much in the market. But the prices of grapes are very expensive. Every grape you eat costs you 10 cents. Adds up, dollars. A bunch of grapes, dollars. Most Americans work for $8, $9 an hour. Most all over America. Maybe in New York they get 12, 14 after taxes. But most people get $7, $8. They go, they buy 2 pounds of grapes. 1 hour of physical work in the sun or in the freezing weather to eat a bunch of grapes. Makes sense? When they dumping tons of grapes every day to the ocean and tomatoes and others. So why? You may ask me, so why they dump it? Why? They don't want to lower the price. Why? A grape should have cost you 10 cents a pound everywhere you go. But they don't want to work for free. Why? They're going to load a semi-trailer with 100 tons of grapes. For how much they're going to get for it? Nothing. It's going to cost them more, the driver, the truck, the delivery. And in the end, they're left with no profit. So to keep the price higher, they have extra, they throw it to the ocean. That's called inflation. The inflation is the prices are keep going higher and higher. One other sign the Torah says before Mashiach comes, the Israeli Knesset will be a circus. That's in the Gemara, I'm not lying. Bedvad יהפך לזנות, the place when the 120 holy rabbis and prophets founded, that was the Israeli Knesset with 120 members like they see today. The only identical thing today to 2,000 years ago is the shape of the chairs. There used to be 120 holy people living there, prophets, some of them, famous prophets. And today 120 clowns, robbers, thieves, cursing, cheating, voting twice on votes, promoting crimes against God. When, God forbid, somebody will say, God willing, in a Knesset, they all get angry. Don't say these words here. 14 terrorists, that their dream is to burn all the Jews alive, sitting in a Knesset, 14 Arab terrorists. Not only that they are terrorists, they're doing nothing to hide it. They stand in the middle of the Israeli Knesset every day and speak for the favor of the Hamas or Iran. Inside. Democracy. The Gemara predicted that that's going to be one of the signs before Mashiach comes. One thing you should know, time is running out. Even though it's going to be a very difficult time. It can take years, it can take tens of years. Only God knows. One of the biggest secrets and mysteries in Judaism is how exactly the Messiah, the Mashiach will arrive and what exactly is going to happen. Even though the prophets told us many possibilities, I name 1 or 2 or 3 of them, there are many others. Nobody will know how it's going to happen and when until it happens. That's the words of the Rambam, Maimonides. That's why the Torah say nobody should calculate the end. When it's going to be, what day, what month, it's a crime to do so. Even Jacob, our father, gathered his children around his bed before he died and wanted to describe to them the end of the world. When the Messiah will come and God will purify the world and get rid of all the wicked people. When he was about to give his speech, God confused him and he couldn't say a word. People who communicate with dead people through medium and seance, Ouija board with the glass, all these things to call souls. When they ask questions about Messiah or the resurrection of the dead, things like that, the glass explodes. Amazing. I always wonder how a secular Jew that is not religious, he calls the soul of his grandfather, of somebody he knows, and with the Ouija board, the glass begins to move with the candles. There's ways to do it. And he sees that he asks this kind of questions, always the glass explodes, and he doesn't become religious. I never understand how can it be. But you're fool, you're blind. Don't you see that it's not coincidence? First, that you are speaking to a dead spirit. That's already enough for you to realize life is not ending age 70, 75. It's maybe only beginning then, in a different format, without a physical body. You should know, what does it mean, body? Body is a bunch of molecules. That's what we call material. This is material, water, everything is material. Does material really exist? The answer is no. All the material you hear, you see that catching space, have colors, have a shape, it's all an illusion. It doesn't really exist. What is it? The electrons in the atom are moving so fast in a special way that it looks that it's a full item. But it's really nothing, it's all air. So what's going to happen? When God removes his energy from the material creation, in 1 second, the entire universe, the entire world will be smaller than this. That's it. That's the massa of this. That's it. That's the entire world that you see today. Stars, galaxies, mountains, water, oceans, everything you see. It's not even this. So how it catches so much space? Hundreds of thousands of miles, millions of miles. It's all an illusion. This is the way material behaves. What is it like? I'll give you an example if you didn't understand. Did you ever see, you looked at a fan in the hot days, you press the fan, and the propeller starts to roll around, right? It has 4 arms, right? It looks like a cross, the propeller. The fan, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. The faster the speed is, the illusion is that you're looking at a full circle. You don't really see 4 arms. You see an entire circle. If it's slow, you still see movements. If it's very, very fast, you put your finger in, you think there's nothing is moving. And then you can cut your finger, whatever. They make it with plastic because of that danger, with a special net. This is how the world is. The material that you see, you look at this wall. The electrons are moving so fast that even though they are nothing, they give us an illusion that they are filling up the entire material. But it's all an illusion. That's what this world is. The Torah already spoke about all these things. The Torah already said that what comes out of a Jewish mouth affecting the material. The more Torah that Jews are speaking in this world, improving the quality of this world, physically and spiritually, preventing sicknesses, preventing killing, preventing wars, preventing problems with money, just by what words comes out. One Japanese professor, his name is Amado, that's his name, famous, you can type his name in the internet, you see him. Actually, from here I'm going to Great Neck to give a lecture about science with the screen. It's a different topic. And I show his face and all the discoveries that he found in the last 10 years. He made an experiment. I don't know what led him to even think about that direction, but he made an interesting experiment. What's his experiments? They take spring water. They take a drop of water, spring water, they put it under a microscope. When they say nice words in Japanese, or in German, or in French, or in Hebrew, any language, when they speak nice words next to this drop of water, and then they take a drop to a different microscope in a different room and say derogatory language, curses, lies, arrogant words. 2 drops of water. Then they freeze this water in minus 25 degrees for 3 hours. It becomes a drop of round, it looks like a coin, ice, round. It's put it in a special templates, and then they look inside the microscope and they advertise their picture in the internet. Scientific experiment. We made a revolution in the scientific world. Guess what? The drops that they spoke nice words, showing beautiful symmetric shapes like stars and diamonds, beautiful, all kinds of, mamash, unbelievable. Fantastic creation. And the drops, or not only water, other things, that they spoke bad things about it, affecting the shape of that material. Made it not symmetric, ugly, spreads non-equally. Unbelievable. Based on his discoveries, an Israeli student in Bar Ilan University made the same experiments with seeds. What was his experiment? He took beans. You know, beans grow out of them roots. He took on cottons 3 weeks. He put in one room bunch of beans, brown beans or white beans, I'm not sure. They put it on cottons with some water inside the cotton, and in one room Jews were reading Tehillim, all days Tehillim. And in the other room they put beans, and people used to curse all day. 3 weeks after, he shows on the internet in the university his discoveries. The beans that heard words of Torah, holiness, grew up fantastically. And the beans that heard curses all the time didn't grow up at all. A little bit came here, came there, nothing. It shows that scientific. If you wonder, you should know that the Torah already said that that's the situation. Where the Torah says, we say it in a davening every day. What does it say? We say hadek edev etev hadek. When they used to grind the spices for the ktoret in Bet HaMikdash, they used to have 11 ingredients, and that's how they mix the ktoret. We read it in Mincha and Shachris before the davening in the Korbanot, when we read the sacrifices. Right after that, we say Tanu Rabbanan, Pituma Ketoret, Ketzad, 365. This whole part, a part of it says, when they used to grind Pituma, when they used Adek Edef Edev Adek, they used to grind it, they used to speak. Why? Because the voice, the noise that comes out of their mouth, improve the ingredient. Akol yafela besamim, for perfumes, for spices who give good smells. When they hear music or voice or things like this, they become better smell, better quality. But for wine, when you make wine out of grapes, it has to be complete silence. Why? When you speak where they make wines, it's defect the quality of the wine. This is 2,000 years ago. It's in the Gemara, in the Mishnah. Today they're finding it. One other thing the Torah told us, that a woman that has a period, if she goes to a place where they make the wine, it ruins the quality of the wine. I read about it until one person went to France to the best factory of wines that cost $1,000 a bottle. There's a sign over there, no women are allowed. What's going on here? Discrimination? So he asked them, why women are not allowed? He said, because if a woman is in a, we cannot ask every woman, hey, excuse me, you have your period or not? What is this? It's not a shul here. So, because of that, and some of them will say no, we cannot trust them, we just don't let them enter. Why? It ruins the quality of our wine. The goyim, they don't know Torah. It's interesting. Many, many things. The lectures that I will give later on today in Great Neck at 7:30 will be on the website in a week. You don't want to miss it. It's a brand new lecture that I just made. I never gave it before. It will be later on today. Just to finish, and I give you some time for questions, any questions that you have, you should know. It's going to be a difficult time. Now it's the time for every Jew. Don't think I'm already 70. It's too late for me. Not true. As long as you breathe, you can correct. Even the last day of the person's life, if he make repentance, he review his life, he sees situation, and he speaks in his own language, not necessarily in a synagogue, in his own bedroom before he goes to sleep. Dear God, look at my life. All my life was all one big mistake. I didn't have religion. I didn't know that much about you. I never read the Torah once in my life. I don't know 1% of the Torah. I don't really know that much. So even though that's the way my life was, I really want to correct. Even though it looks like an impossible mission for me, help me out. Direct me to the right lectures. Direct me to the right rabbis. Direct me to the right website. Get me the right DVDs or disc, audio disc, the right books. Show me, help me out in your way. You may ask me why I need to ask God to help me to be religious. Don't He want me to be religious? Let Him help me anyway. The answer is no. The Torah says that to find the truth of God, a person has to work very hard in his life. Not that many people saw the truth. Even Abraham, that God spoke to him, had 10 major tests before God agreed to speak to him and give him the truth. Moshe, how much he has to go through to prove himself until God agreed to come to him and give him a mission. Moshe. What was? First, he was in a palace of Pharaoh. Then he saw how his brothers and sisters are suffering in a slavery. He proved God that he's not egoistic. He went to help them out, even though he was in a palace. He went to help the Jews in Egypt. Then, one Egyptian was beating up a Jew. Moshe killed him. He gave up his position in Egypt as a prince, escaped from Egypt because he saw a Jew suffering. That's the second proof. He proved himself. He went to the exile. More than 50, 60 years he was out of there. Age 80, he was nominated to be the Mashiach, the leader, the savior of the nation of Israel. Only age 80. After 80 years that God tested him, only He gave him the mission, go and save my nation. That's the reality. Moshe Rabbeinu. So to earn a ticket to heaven, to eternity, a person has to work very hard. It's not enough just to give $1,000 here and there, a check donation, and think you're okay. No, that's only to relax your conscience. A Jew has to keep every mitzvah. It doesn't matter where is your background from, whether you're from Germany or Poland or Syria or Persia. There's no excuses. All you have to do is to learn. The more you learn, you have to practice. If you don't keep the Sabbath, it's a major, major threat to your eternity. Because the Torah says, a Jew that does not observe the Sabbath has no part to the world to come. I do not let him enter my place where I promised the righteous Jews. Mechalel Shabbat befaresya areu kegoy lechol davar. He exclude himself out of Judaism. Don't have any complaints to me, God says. And it's the law in Shulchan Aruch in 7 different chapters. That Mechalel Shabbos, breaking the eternal covenant. What do we say when we make Kiddush? And the nation of Israel observed the Sabbath to make the Sabbath a holy covenant between me, who is speaking? God. Between me and the nation of Israel. It's a sign for eternity that I created the world in 6 days and in the 7 days I rested. This is an eternal covenant, not a temporary covenant. There's a difference between eternal to temporary. Even a very long covenant which can take thousands of years, it's still temporary. Eternal means billions of years. It's not even the beginning. You can't even count. And the Torah says, for those who are ignorant and they don't know Torah, that's the reason I'm here, to tell you the secret. As long as you're alive, you can earn it. The Torah says, I am the faithful God who pay reward to my lovers who keep my mitzvot. Not enough to love me in their heart and do everything the opposite of my orders. Those who keep my mitzvot, I'm faithful to pay them rewards for thousands of generations. And those who are not, I pay them for the little good that they did here, cash, to their face, to get rid of them, not to have anything to do with them afterlife. Where does it say it? Last 3 sentences in Parashat Va'etchanan. Remember, go to Parashat Va'etchanan, the last 3 verses, that's what it says. I am the faithful God who paid my lovers that keep my mitzvot forever, and those who don't, after all, they made some mitzvot in this life, here donation, here once in their life they put a fill-in by the Chabad booth, once, twice in his life he came to a lecture, whatever. Every Jew makes some mitzvot, he fasts once a year in Yom Kippur, so I owe him for it. But I don't want to let him go into the eternity that I promised the righteous Jews. Therefore, I am forced to pay him cash in this temporary life. Why? Since he holds that life is temporary, since he sacrificed all his energy to gain success in this temporary illusion life, I'm going to pay him in the same coins that he understands. You want to own a baseball team? Go ahead, it's yours. You want to have a chain of department stores? That's your dream? Go ahead, it's yours. What else do I owe you? You gave some donations here and there, take another house in Miami, take an apartment in Vegas, take 5 more cars, take a Ferrari, take beautiful suits, take some diamonds. I paid you for everything. You come in front of me, don't dare to tell me, hey, where is the justice? Why? I am the faithful God who will not receive a bribe from anyone and pay everyone according to what they deserve, for good and, God forbid, for bad. All these words that I'm saying, I brought you some free DVDs. Even the DVDs are for free. So you take them and you watch them. They are in English. They are divided to 3 different sessions. The first session, scientific proof for those of you who still have doubts. In the first hour or so, I prove scientifically, beyond any doubt, not beyond reasonable doubt, beyond any doubt, that the Jews, millions of Jews, stood around Mount Sinai 3,320 years ago and listened to the voice of God and received the Torah directly from Him. Not from their grandparents that told them stories. Directly from God, who handed them the book through Moses. That's the first session. I bring all the scientific evidence one after the other that leaves no doubt. Second session is scientific evidence based on objective science that the written and the oral Torah could never be written by any human being whatsoever, even the most genius one in history, even all of them combined, with all the technology you can think of, wouldn't be able to write 1 page in this book. Why? You'll see over there. And the third session, which is in reality, after I prove to you that this is a divine book, for those who still have some doubts, is the most important one. What is the purpose of life? Why righteous people suffer and wicked people know? What about the free choice? How does it work? What God really wants from us? How does it work, reward and punishment? All the things that I'm sure you ask yourself a few times in your lifetime, some more, some less. The answer to all these famous questions that humanity asks about life are all there in the last hour and 10, 20 minutes. Altogether, it's a 3 hours and 20 minutes film. We already gave more than 15,000 free copies out with the help of people. It costs $1 to make, no big deal. We give them out to every Jew that is interested. And the point is that this is only one long lecture. That brings people into the website. The website is growing by the minute. Every day better than yesterday, Baruch Hashem. Why? A Jew has a special soul, divine soul. Sometimes it fell in the mud. Diamond that fell into the mud looks like a regular stone, but still a diamond. It looks like a regular stone that doesn't even worth a penny. This is $100 million, this is a penny. They both look the same when they're dirty. The job of the Torah is to clean the dirt. How do you clean the dirt from a Jew that lived 40, 50, 60, 70 years making sins almost every minute, has no direction in his life, he doesn't even know the purpose of his life, he doesn't recognize his Creator, He doesn't know what's allowed, what's not allowed. He donates money to some institution thinking he's doing something good. He's actually making a big sin giving them money. Because they're anti-God. They're not doing what God wants. But he doesn't know. He means well, and he actually kills them to make a destruction in God's world. It happens all the time. Ignorance is a very painful danger to the life of any person, not only in religion, in computer, in medicine, in what we eat, in many, many things that we do. Once you're ignorant, you are damaging your body and your soul, guarantee. So the answer is to educate the people. How you educate them? You give them a free DVD. They are so excited. What's happened after that? I get thousands of emails every year from all over the world, believe it or not, from all over the world. Countries you wouldn't believe, Pakistan, India, Europe, Turkey, everywhere. Chinese people wants to convert. Many, many Jews, more than 100 converts I made myself. After begging them not to convert. Sending rabbis in a court every week, a new convert. People who are willing to die for Judaism. They're giving up their church, everything. Because they saw the truth. Why? It's so obvious to see. Just they didn't know it before. You give them 2-3 hours, they realize right away. I had a debate with a Christian professor, more than 1 million people watched it. It spreads like, God forbid, like cancer, or everywhere. Why? They see right away. What do you think? They don't have common sense? They also have souls. It's different than Jews, but they also have a purpose in the creation. And some of them, believe it or not, are much more righteous than us. Why? The things that I heard from some of them, what they're willing to do for the truth, I'm still waiting for one Jew to tell me what some of them told me. He's willing to give up his wife, his children, his job, his money, comes alone to New York to study Torah, just that I tell him where to go. He's giving up everything. Why? That's the truth. Why should I waste more time? People, non-Jews, that you have to admire them. Why? Based on what they became like this? By watching the lectures. So the idea is we're giving out these DVDs, and what happened? The people goes into the website. Over there you have 400 lectures. Any topic you can think of, Baruch Hashem, I covered over the years there. Anything. Marriage, children, suffering, sicknesses, purpose of life, life after life, proofs, anything. Just everything, covering what the Torah says, what does it mean, stealing, cheating, all these things. All covered. So for $1, you make a Jew goes into an ocean of knowledge. And he can learn 20 years just from the website. And he will know a lot. Without hiring rabbis, without running to buy hundreds of books, without spending hours in yeshiva. He comes in his laptop at home, in bed, puts his headphones. Every night he learns an hour or two. What happened to all these people? A large portion of them become Shomer Shabbos. Some of them wanted to marry a non-Jew. They realized it's a big tragedy. Not that they're bad people. No. The Torah did not allow us. Not the chas v'shalom that we have anything against them. Like I say, some of them are honey. What can I do? My Creator told me I'm not allowed. I have to give up my wishes. I have to sacrifice for the truth. Just not the truth. But I'm going by my convenience. It doesn't work that way. If this is the truth of God, and He told me you're allowed, you're not allowed, you're allowed, you're not allowed, I must do everything I can. And I have a lot of situations like this. Some of the people found the truth after they married with non-Jews, and they have non-Jewish kids according to the Jewish law. And sometimes it's much more complicated, because even if the wife wants to convert and this, it's a whole long process, very complicated. The idea is to save the people before it's too late. Even though it's never too late. Never too late. Even someone like Adolf Hitler could have made repentance. Believe it or not. We have people in a history that killed millions or thousands, whatever, and we see that God were able to give them a second chance. So obviously, we are not like them. Baruch Hashem. We are much better. So to correct ourselves is not so complicated like them. They have a long, tiring job to do. We can do it 1, 2, 3. It's up to us. if you want to enter the truth or not. Now, any questions you ask, I promise you, you will see that I answer you there, everything. Every mystery that you have, every doubt, things that don't make sense to you. Over the years, people ask the same questions all the time. You see that the answer is there. The question is, are you willing to try or no? You willing to give yourself a push? Or you're going to go out of this door and tomorrow morning you won't even remember you came here? That's the question. My hope, I pray to God that each one of you will be responsible enough for yourself, first of all, for your wife, for your husbands, for your children, for your friends, neighbors, any Jew you know, to give them out the truth, the website, the DVDs. People are sending emails, questions, and that's like a snowball. It grows, Baruch Hashem, every day. Be'ezrat Hashem, you have some free DVDs. If it's not enough, I have more in a car. Anyone who wants to give donations for DVDs, based on the donation, remember, each dollar creates a new DVD. In English, in Hebrew, whichever you choose, we're giving them out for free. And you will have a part in every mitzvah that the Jews will make after watching these DVDs and going into the website. Every time they put tefillin, it counts you did it. Every time they gave donation, it counts you did it. Every time they observed the Sabbath, it counts you did it. This is how it works. For good or for bad. When you influence Jews to make sins, you're responsible. When you're responsible for them making mitzvot, it's all your reward. It's all tax deductible. If you want, you can call me, you can email me, you can ask me, you can help. I can even give you the DVDs to give them out. So if you, donate 100, I give you the 100. You give them out to any Jew you want. If you don't have time, we'll give them out for you. We have enough volunteers that are going out to places, to concerts, and they're handing them to people. If you're interested to see some of the emails that I get every week, believe me, you'll cry like a baby. It's people who didn't know anything from all over. They now Shomer Shabbos, they put feeling, they go to learn every day. Some of them move from bad area into holy places. Some of them made aliyah to Israel. Some of them sit in yeshiva, becoming rabbis already, over the years. There are people who helped me to make them religious. I couldn't do anything on my own. Everyone who was a partner with me in those mitzvot is earning while he's sleeping, while he's eating, while he's driving, while he's stuck in traffic, is earning spiritual reward for eternity based on his help. Donations, contributions, sending emails. I thank you very much for coming here. Any questions that you have, please.
Rabbi, I'll read in English.
Yes.
Verse, of course, says, all Israel has a share in the growth.
I got the question. Let me answer you. All the Mishnah says, Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek la'olam haba. Every Jew has a part to the world to come. My dear Jew over there is responding to what I said, that the Torah said that a mechalel Shabbos, someone who doesn't observe the Sabbath, has no part to the world to come. You just read to me half of the original Mishnah. You read it from the Sidur, which we pray in every Shabbat. After the Musaf, Sfaradim, the Ashkenazim is a little bit different. We read in the Shabbat prayers, every Jew has a part to the world to come. שנאמר, ועמך כולם צדיקים, לעולם ירשו ארץ, נצר מטעי, מעשה ידי להתפאר. What you didn't know, or you forgot, is that this Mishnah has another half. Why don't we have it in a Sidur? Because we don't want to bring our negative to God when we pray. We only bring the good things out of the Mishnah, not the bad. The rest of that Mishnah is, and those are the Jews who have no part to the world to come. And they give a list. Someone who believes in another God. Someone who says there's more than one God. Someone who say that Moshe, not everything he said is 100% from God. Some of the things came from his own opinion. Someone who said there's not going to be Mashiach. Someone who said there's not going to be resurrection of the dead. A Jew that learns other religions. And one of the things in the list, a Jew that makes sins against the Torah in public. Beyad Rama, with no shame and no embarrass. What can be a worse crime than driving a car on Shabbat? Everybody knows it's not allowed. But people say today it's hard, the synagogue is far, I'm sure God will understand me, all I'm trying is to come to listen to the prayer, to hear the Torah, I want my children to become Jewish, to hear to hear about Judaism. If I'm not going to drive to the shul, I have no chance ever to participate in a Jewish ceremony. I'm very sorry to disappoint the people who think like that, because when God gave the Torah, He knew all the future, and He knew all the people, and He knew all the circumstances and all the scenarios, everything, all over the world, to all the generations. When He gave us the mitzvah of Shabbos, He told us there is only one exception to the laws of Sabbath, life risk. That's it. If He would give us a second exception, in order for Jews to gather, to pray, to do mitzvot together, or to hear the learning of the Torah, or etc., etc., that's also an exception to the rule of the Sabbath, which allows you to create fire, to turn the engine in a car, and to do all these things. Then I would be the first one who call all my brothers and sisters to come to synagogue with a car. But since God gave only one exception to the rule when it's life risk, none of us has permission to allow Jews to violate the rules of the Sabbath and be subject to this terrible punishment of karet just to hear a mitzvah from the rabbis. By the way, to come to shul, it's mitzvah de Rabbanan. Nowhere in the Torah there's an obligation that we must come together and pray. It's only said that we have to pray to Hashem every day. Where and how and this, the rest is the rabbis set up the laws. You understand? So there's no way we're going to come to listen to a mitzvah that the rabbis made and violates the worst sins in the Torah. It doesn't make sense. Yes?
Before God created the world, how was there, before God created the world, how was there a God to appear that created the world? How is it God, how did He appear?
God doesn't have an image.
I know.
No color, no picture, no size, none of these things. It's like a spiritual energy that you cannot detect with your five senses. What is it? We will never know. The Torah says, "Ki lo irani ha'adam v'chai." No one will be able to see me and survive, to testify about it. Therefore, if someone tells you, I saw God and He looked like me this, like that, unless if he's a prophet, any ordinary person is lying, because the Torah says, God said, nobody can see me and stay alive. However, once the soul separates from the physical world, comes out of the physical body, the soul is 100% divine spiritual, like God Himself. It's a spark from God Himself. Each Jew has a part from God inside his body. Chelek Eloha Mimal. A divine spark from God. That's what the soul is. That's why it lives for eternity. It has the same skills like God has. Mercy, knowledge, understanding, spirituality. All these things that we have in our soul comes from God. So therefore, the Torah says, B'chayehem enam roim. In their life they cannot see me. But in their death, everybody sees me. שנאמר לפניו יכרעו כל יורדי עפר. Before Him, everyone bow down on their knees. It's all an expression. People see the lights of God in the time of death. Yeah.
About an hour ago in your discussion, you were talking about most people don't remember their previous lives, but there are exceptions, and some people do. My understanding has always been that a belief in reincarnation was part of Hindu and Eastern religious belief, not part of Judaism. Could you explain
yes.
the connection with Torah?
The order in the four main religions, in a chronological order, is Judaism started 3,320 years ago. Buddhism started 2,400 years ago. 2,400 years ago. Christianity, 2,000 years ago. Islam, 1,400 years ago. Everything you find in other religions and cults that identical to the Torah leads us to believe, almost with no doubt, that they learn it from us. Why? Because before the Torah was given, there was all local cults. Like in the time of Abraham, before the Torah was given, 200-300 before, the Torah described that people worship idols. The sun, the moon, the stars, animals, trees, oceans, like in Egypt. Who was their god? The Nile River, and the sheep. Hinduism, it's with the cows and all these things. Everybody made himself an idol. Buddhism, it's a Buddha, a person that came and saw the light. Whatever they're speaking about reincarnation, they learn from us. Some of the things, we had philosophical arguments with them. For instance, about the free choice, there are 3 different opinions. The opinion of the Torah, the opinions of the Muslims, the opinion of the Christians. Most of the topics, whatever they say, it's identical to us. They are also made up phony laws that made by people, which ruins everything. But we have the authentic knowledge. And also, right when the Torah was given to us, we already see inside the Torah that there is reincarnation. For instance, the oral Torah teaching us that Moshe Rabbeinu is a reincarnation of Hevel. Cain murdered Hevel, the 2 brothers. Cain was reincarnated in the body of Jethro. And Hevel became Moshe. That's 2,400 years later, approximately. And now the correction for the murderer that murdered his brother. Why did he murder him? Because he was born with 2 twins. Hevel was born with 2 girls that were born with him, twins, triplets. And Cain was born with only 1 twin. And remember, there was no laws of Gilui Arayot, adultery, and all these, sex crimes. So it was perfectly fine to live with your sister, because there was nowhere in the history people knew that to have relation with a sister, it's against any law. Just today, it's horrible things, because the whole humanity already know the opinion of God about it. But before we knew about it, it was perfectly fine. So Cain was very jealous that Hevel lives with 2 girls and he only has 1. That's a part of the reason that he murdered him. Now, because he murdered him for a girl, a part of his correction was that he will give him a girl in another life. Which girl he gave him? His daughter Tzipporah. Jethro had a daughter Tzipporah, and he gave Tzipporah to Moshe to marry her. Tzipporah is the repentance, actually, for him murdering him in a previous life. That's why he gave him a daughter. And now Moshe married her. It's Cain as Hevel getting compensation for the reason why he got killed before. Another part of Cain was reincarnated in the body of the Egyptian soldiers that was beating up the Jew. Then Moshe went and killed him. That's it, the story ended. The circle was just ending here. The soul of Cain was reincarnated in 2 different bodies. A part of the soul in Jethro, a part of the soul in that Egyptian soldier. So actually Hevel got a girl back from Cain, and he killed him back. You understand? So this is just giving you an example of some information we got in Mount Sinai 3,320 years ago. We wouldn't know. This is oral Torah. Remember, the Torah, it's not what you only know. Like some people think that the written Torah is from God and the rest the Rabbi made up. No, wrong. Inside the text, it says there are more than 1 Torah. These are the Torahs, plural, that I put in the hand of Moshe in Mount Sinai. Not Torah, Torahs. Torot, in Hebrew, Torah, Torot. Torot means more than 1. So right there in the text, it says there's more than 1. Plus, every fool knows that God wouldn't bother us giving us a book full of 613 laws, and nowhere in a written Torah explain even 1 detail of any one of them. 613 commandments, nowhere in a book explains how to make tefillin. From what animal, what color, what's to put inside. Thousands of instructions about tefillin, not 1 of them is in a book. To keep the law of the Sabbath, it's only tell you that Sabbath is a holy day, day of rest, and it's a spiritual day for the covenant between us and God. But nowhere in a written Torah it says what to do, what not to do. Where are all the laws? To circumcise a baby in the 8th day. Where to circumcise? How? It doesn't say. What tools? What happens if he's sick, if he's yellow, day and a night? It doesn't say anything. So any mitzvah that you mention from the written Torah, nowhere in a written Torah you have 1 instruction about it. Make sense? What's the point? If the President of the United States wants to make a new constitution today, And he makes a big deal out of it. He writes a book, and he gives it to the people. You should not, you should do, you should not, you should do. And he gives instruction to do technical things. And they ask him, dear President, okay, we want to do what you say, but how? Nowhere in the book you say one detail. Oh, you have to guess on your own. So what's the point of giving me a book? So obviously, even simple common sense that the laws are somewhere else. Now you may ask, why God didn't write everything in one book and finished? First of all, the size of the book will be all the way from here to Tel Aviv. You know how many laws, how much instructions you have? Second, God was not interested that the Gentiles will have all his secrets. If everything will be in one book, you don't need the court to convert you. You just grow a beard, you learn by yourself how to make tefillin, you make talis, you know how to circumcise, everything is in one book. What do you need the nation of Israel? You make Judaism in China, you make Judaism in Saudi Arabia, you make Judaism in Japan, you make Judaism on the moon. You don't need the Jews. You don't need the rabbis, but Hashem wants to give the authority to the holy rabbis. As the Torah says, everything they tell you, you must listen to them. Do not move left and right from their instructions, the Torah says. I don't need the rabbis. I can become a Jew, pretend I'm a Jew, without mikveh, without conversion. I just live according to the book and finish. Today, none of us would know if we are Jewish or not, because we wouldn't know who our grandparents are. Maybe my grandmother is one of those goyim that pretended that they're Jews. To prevent such a tragedy, the written laws were given, and the instruction specifically to each mitzvah was given verbally, from word to mouth. And only 1,300 years later, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi came and wrote it in a Mishnah. Why? Because the Jews went to the exile, and there was a major danger that we're going to lose all the oral laws. And that's when he went and violated the rule to protect the rule. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it. We wouldn't have Judaism today. Thanks to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, we're here today. If he wouldn't write the Mishnah 2,000 years ago, we wouldn't know what circumcision is. We wouldn't know what a sacrifice is. We don't know Shabbat. We wouldn't know Tefillin. We wouldn't know anything. Any last question before we finish? Yes?
How do you know there's a God?
Very simple. Did you ever find a creation without a creator? A chair. Don't have to be so sophisticated to go to God. Look at this chair. Can you swear to me on your life that this chair was made by itself, or you can swear the other way around, that somebody probably made it?
All right, it's made by a human being.
All right, somebody made the chair. Next step is, did you find any creation without a purpose? Show me one thing in the entire world that someone made, computer, a book, a bottle, chair, floor, anything you can think of, anything you name, and I will swear on my wife and life and my children's life and my life and the entire life of the nation of Israel, I'm willing to take responsibility to swear that whoever made it, before he started to make his creation, had a purpose, a destination, a goal. I am willing to swear on my life, and I'm sure you will do also. Why? Nobody is going to waste time and energy and create things for no reason. Every creation has a unique purpose. Now, when we review the world, this is the most sophisticated creation, and especially the human's body and the brain. If you know a little bit about the brain, it's like millions of computers together will not be one human brain. Is it possible to say that the Creator made it for no reason? If he wanted me here because he wanted me to live with a female and have children, he will make me a monkey. I don't have to be an intelligent human being. If he wanted me to eat, I would be a dog. Why do I have to be a man? If he wanted me to do sports, I would become a chimpanzee. They're much better. If he wanted me to swim, I would become a fish. If he wanted me to be rich, why most people in the world are poor? If he wanted us to be healthy, why most people are sick? And so forth and so on. Anything you're going to see, you're going to see that the Creator made us special, And now we have to learn what's the purpose of our creation. How do we know it? We review the book. And we see through the book that the knowledge about nature, about astronomy, about geographical things, is all divine knowledge. No person, for instance, can recognize 2 million animals by memory. Remember, this was written in an ancient time. There was no computers that can store everything. But even with computers, to memorize 2 million species, it's impossible. So I want to ask you a question. In this book, it says that Jews are allowed to eat kosher animals. What's the significance, what's the sign to know that it's kosher or not? You don't have to sit and learn 2 million different species by heart, their names, their colors, where they live. You don't have to. All you have to know that there is a mathematical formula. What is it? They have to have 2 signs in their body. One sign is that they chew their cud. They spit their food out of the stomach and redigest it. Second sign is that they have to have split hooves in their legs. Not just hooves, it's split, it's cut. Those are the 2 signs that the animal is kosher. However, comes the writer of the Torah and say, dear Jew, make no mistake. There are 4 exceptional animals in my creation that I created different than all the others. 4 out of 2 million that we know today. What's special about them? They only have 1 sign, not 2. Either they chew their cud or they have split hooves, one of the 2. Which are the 4 animals? The camel, the pig, the rabbit, and the hare. 4 animals from 2 million that have only 1 sign. Now I want to ask you, if you review 2 million animals, one by one, 70 years, you check this one, you check the next one, you check the next one. We have all of them in the archives today. All you needed to do is to find 1 more species that has 1 sign only. And that would make it, instead of 4, 5. And that would be the end of the Torah, the end of Judaism, the end of God, the end of everything. Why? This book would lose its value. Why? It's not divine. If God wrote it as he claimed in the book, I am the God that took you out of Egypt, I'm giving you this Torah, I'm giving you life, I'm giving you afterlife, I'm giving you reward or punishment, God forbid, and I told you there are 4 exceptional animals, and I would prove there is 5, that means the book is not divine. You understand? Now, if you watch my DVD, I promise you, you'll never have any doubts. Every creation has a creator. The brain, your brain, could have never become by itself. Enough with the nonsense that these foolish professors are selling us in the last 50 years in the universities. They don't believe themselves. When the IRS sends them a letter, the first thing comes out of their mouth, oh God, don't do this to me. What about God? This morning you said that it was all an explosion. Random explosion, you liar. Now you say there's God? Of course, in the hospitals everyone is religious. So why they sell us this nonsense? Explosion. Random explosion. 6.4 million brains are walking in the streets. Animals, eagles, birds, water, oxygen everywhere. Accident. Why? Because it removes my guilt feelings. My conscience is suffering. Why? I'm rebelling against my Creator. He gave me a book. Since I don't live by His orders, what's the easiest way out? To argue with the rabbis. They crush me. So you know what's the best way? I don't believe in it. It never happened. I don't believe in it. Explosion, monkeys, Big Bang, whatever you want to call it.
It's too late to argue, but we haven't proved it clearly. Maybe we can leave it for another day.
All right, let me explain you something. I don't have to prove it to you fully right now, but that's the reason I made this DVD. If you have a computer, just take this DVD and watch the entire DVD, and then you see that I actually prove it in the DVD. And you have to also remember, Today I have an audience that I don't know that much anybody here. But in the last 14 years, I had professors for evolutions, I had politicians, I even had the state controller of New York arguing with me in public in a lecture, Alan Avesey, if you heard about him. And he wasn't a great believer. And after we had an argument for 40 minutes, we went together to a dinner and we sat for 2.5 hours and I was proving him the Torah. This is his words in the end. He says in the end, it's 100% clear, I have no more doubts. If he's going to become religious or not, it's not in my hand, I'm not his boss. But I just want to tell you that before he met me, all we spoke all together is 3 hours. He was sure that there's nothing. After he spoke, we spoke for that 3 hours, and basically I told him what this cares. It's all clear. Now, this is not an idiot. This is a professor for history, very knowledgeable person. Believe me, is one of the people that made good impression on me over the years. And I met a lot of smart people. But he was right to the point. Good questions, dilemmas, doubts, right to the point. Asking the question, but at the same thing, honest. When you prove, you say, that's it. There's nothing to answer about this, nothing to answer about this. Some of the things he continued to argue. Some of the things right away. So yeah, a person could never write such a thing, which leads us to believe that God wrote it. And if God wrote it, I have to be not normal to ignore it. I can ignore letters from the government. I can ignore letters from the court. I can ignore from the police. I can ignore letters from the mafia that is on the way to kill me. But to ignore a letter from my Creator, I don't think it's a wise thing to do. Thank you very much. Good night.